It's a new year. That means we've got a new set of movies. A couple weeks back, I shared my most anticipated movies of 2026. But what about the box office? Today I've picked out 26 of the biggest movies of the year, and we're going to do a 2026 box office prediction tier list. While I'm talking, if you want to create your own tier list, I'll have a link down below to my template where you can create your own 2026 box office prediction tier list. My list isn't the right list, it's just my best guess as to how well these movies are going to do at the box office. As we go into this, I'm generally speaking going to try and go through them in release order from February to December. Let's see what happens, and let's get started. Kicking things off at the end of February, we have Scream 7, and this is an actual pretty easy one for me. I'm dropping this one in the under 200 million category. If you look at the box office track record of the last two Scream movies, one of them did about $135 million. The second one, Scream 6, did about $150 million globally, in which case past performance is the best predictor of future performance. Pretty obviously, this is very likely to be under $200 million. They are kind of pulling out all the stops, trying to do a couple of these desperation plays by having Neve Campbell starring in it, Stu's returning, Kevin Williamson directing, but all of that is to make up for bad PR because of the Melissa Barrera situation, losing Jenna Ortega. So I just don't see this one doing dramatically better than the last two. Safely, easily, under $200 million. Next up, we have Hopper. This is our next Pixar film. And this is another one that it's tough for me to think this one's going to get much traction. It could be the 200 to 300 million category. At the moment, I'm going under $200 million. I very easily could be wrong. I'm not terribly surprised if we're in that $200 to $300 million range. I just don't think this one's really going to take off. I'm looking at the performance of Elio from last summer, where Elio was one of these original Pixar films, and it just never got any traction. And that's what I kind of feel about Hopper. There's not a lot of buzz. There's not a lot of discourse. That's not the movie that people are chatting about. It's Toy Story 5 in June. So I'm expecting kind of an Elio performance. Not too surprised. You have to see what the reviews are and some of that stuff. But at the moment, I'm expecting it to be in the one of the bottom two tiers on here. Not much excitement for it. Next one, Project Hail Mary. This is one, I don't really have anything to use to help me determine what this one will go off of because it's an adaptation of a book. The author's previous adaptation, The Martian from 10 years ago, was a big, gigantic hit, but it's 10 years ago. It's not exactly the same thing, and it's not exactly a one-to-one that you can compare. I'm going to put it in the 300 to 500 million range. That it's Lord and Miller. There's a lot of buzz. It's Ryan Gosling. There's a lot of reasons to think that this one's going to do well with a lot of people. A lot of people out of the most anticipated. It's not a big franchise film. It's not in that category where I'm expecting it to go, close to the $1 billion club. But, once again, we don't have any reviews for it or anything like that. So this is all kind of based off of early buzz. I think 300 to 500 would be a pretty solid number for a movie that's not an established franchise that isn't directed by Christopher Nolan. Next movie on the list, we have Super Mario Galaxy, and this is our first one. I'm throwing all the way up in the $1 billion club. Pretty safely putting it there too. The previous Super Mario movie hit $1 billion, and it played great. People loved that movie. It had very broad appeal. There's a lot of cases where I just, anecdotal stories of peers of mine, the first movie they ever took their kids to go see in the theater was Super Mario Brothers, or they were planning on it being the first movie, and parents had a good time with it. Kids loved it. And so you're doing a sequel to that. No reason to think that this movie isn't going to follow that same exact trajectory. So I'm expecting another movie in the $1 billion club. And animated movies, the last couple years, these animated movies that have good built-in fan bases and stuff like that are just knocking it out of the park, even if they're not very good. Moana 2, not like a super great movie, hit the $1 billion club. And then Zootopia 2, you know, a lot of people really like that movie, but it's not like a movie that everyone's like, this is the greatest animated movie of all time. What a groundbreaking film. It's made over $1.5 billion. Now, a lot of this is China, but it also did absolutely fantastic here in the United States. So animated movies right now are just killing it. Those are movies that families are still going to go see in the theater. So I think Super Mario Galaxy is going to just knock it out of the park. I have so many subscriptions, streaming services, food services, software services. Some of them are annual subscriptions that are hundreds of dollars, and they happen over and over again. It adds up quick. There's so many times I've signed up for some subscription in order to do one specific project, and then I completely forgot about it and kept paying for it. And Rocket Money is one of those tools that has helped me rein in my accidental spending and get control of my finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. When I first started using Rocket Money, I realized I had 2 different subscriptions to one of the big streaming services. You can easily see all of your recurring monthly subscriptions in Rocket Money. Rocket Money has the ability to cancel subscriptions within the app with just a few taps, saving time and avoiding charges. Their dashboard also consolidates checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard to give users a clear view of their financial picture. It's a new year. It's a great time to try and get a grip on your finances. Rocket Money has helped me do that, and it can help you too. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals. Join at rocketmoney.com/Chandler. That's rocketmoney.com/Chandler. rocketmoney.com/Chandler. Next up, we have Michael, the movie about Michael Jackson. There's an enormous amount of buzz chatter for this one. There's been controversy. They had to delay the movie. Will it be 1 movie? Will it be 2 movies? How much are they going to cover some stuff? Lawsuits. This is a movie that people have been buzzing about ever since they announced it because it is about Michael Jackson, who was and is the king of pop. The best point of reference that we can use for this movie would be Bohemian Rhapsody, of musical biopic about also just beloved international band Queen. That movie made $910 million. You always have, when you get at that kind of range, how will things compare? We don't know how good Michael is. We don't know how the audiences are going to respond to it. So do I put it in the 750 category? Do I put it in the $1 billion category? With the amount of just insane chatter, buzz, trailer views, assuming this one connects with audiences the way that people are excited for it, I'm going $1 billion club. I'm putting it all the way up at the top. I'm not surprised if we don't get there, but this is a movie that almost certainly is going to easily fly past 500 million. Pretty easily, I think, is going to hit that 750 million to $1 billion range. Because Michael Jackson is a global sensation that still dominates pop culture over 15 years after he died. And like, for me, I mentioned even watching the trailer. Just watching the trailer gave me nostalgia for when they released the black or white music video in the early 90s and remember the time. Like, it was a cultural event. That's how powerful he is. And that's a global thing. So that movie's just going to kill it at the box office. Another one I don't really know what to do with, Devil Wears Prada 2. I've never seen the original film, so I have no connection to the fandom that is there. It is 20 years later. So Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt are now much bigger stars, but it's not like this is a property that feels like an obvious sequel category. I don't know what to expect on this one. I'm going to throw it, I'll go 300 to 500 million. I'm assuming that'll be on the lower end of that spectrum, but the first movie did $326 million 20 years ago. So if it can still kind of tap into that same range, I would expect some diminishing returns, but some bigger stardom, but a built-in audience, ticket price inflation. So if we're right around $300 million, that's kind of what I'm expecting. $250 to $350 million. That's my guess, but this one is a big, wild guess for me. I really don't know how well this movie's going to do or know even how to compare that one. Then we have Mortal Kombat 2. Now, on the one hand, we can easily and quickly look at the box office performance of the first movie, which was $85 million, and you'd very quickly say, okay, under $200 million, past performance is the best indicator of future performance, under $200 million. But that is a very misleading $85 million because that was an early 2021 COVID release for Warner Brothers that did day and date release on HBO Max. So that $85 million is a dramatically undervalued. Like that's like they let all the air out of the balloon doing day and date release, and it was COVID. So I'm gonna bump it up to $200 to $300 million. The other thing you have to consider with Mortal Kombat 2 is that this is a movie that they've been test screening it for about a year and a half. I had someone message me well over a year ago about seeing a test screening for this film. And they were very positive about it. And then last year, when they were about 2 months away from release, they pulled it from October, pushed it back 6 months to May. And the reason they did that, both with the chatter, was that it's because they have confidence in the movie, because May is more competitive. And then I talked to Louis Tan, the star of the first Mortal Kombat movie. I interviewed him, and that's exactly what he said. I have to ask you about Mortal Kombat. Was so excited to check it out last month, and then it got delayed to May, prime summer date, which a bunch of us were like, oh man, we have to wait 6 more months. And then we went, wait a minute, they must have a lot of confidence in this thing. Obviously, you can't spoil anything, but what can you tease to get us excited for this movie?
Yeah, I mean, well, they moved it for a good reason. You know, it's testing really, really well at the studio.
I had someone DM me and they told me that they saw it at a test screening. They're like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. And so immediately you go, this isn't a movie that they think is going to underperform. They think that this is the movie that audiences want, that's going to deliver, the Johnny Cage, the fatality, the carnage, the tournament that people wanted in the first movie. So I'm going $200 to $300 million. This thing's probably going to make, I think it'll easily double how much the previous movie made. I think it can also easily triple that number as well. Next one we have is The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's a Star Wars movie. Most Star Wars movies easily get over that 750 million mark. I think this is going to perform a lot more like Solo. I'm throwing this in the $300 to $500 million range. I just simply do not see the buzz, the excitement for this project. This is not the next big event Star Wars film. This is the next kind of niche Star Wars film. Now, Star Wars niche is still several $100 million, but this is not a movie that I think is joining the $1 billion club. That, if they'd made this movie after Mandalorian season 2 and you just skip season 3, I think even then I probably would bump up my expectations for it. But Mandalorian season 3 for most people was a massive disappointment. And on a story level, they cut the legs off of the best dramatic potential they could have had for a movie, which is to say, if the movie was about the reuniting of Mando and Grogu after 5 years of them being apart, that is a movie event for fans of The Mandalorian, and it feels like that's the cinematic reason to bring things back. But they already played that out, not even in Mandalorian Season 3, but they did that in episodes of Book of Boba Fett. So I think they let all the air out of the balloon on this one. It's an adaptation of a TV show that is past its prime in its excitement. The trailer was very lackluster, and the buzz coming out of it was very lackluster. Star Wars is a big brand. Mandalorian Grogu, big brand. It's going to make several $100 million. I think it's going to be Solo territory, though. This is not going to be a huge event. All right, next one, another one very difficult to guess. Masters of the Universe. So our last He-Man movie was back in 1987. Not super helpful in trying to guess box office in the year 2026. So for me, I'm then looking at other toys to movie adaptations. Both G.I. Joe movies, well, not Snake Eyes, but the two before that were right around $400 million. Transformers, Rise of the Beast was about $400 million. I'm expecting that to be a better judge than the peak of the Bayformer movies that were billion-dollar films. The buzz from the trailer was quite good. Like, generally speaking, it's felt like fans were like, yeah, I'm digging what I'm seeing. So I'm going to put it in the same category as what the first two G.I. Joe movies did. It Transformers Rise of the Beast, and that puts us in the $300 to $500 million range. Right at $400 million is, my guess for what it's going to do. Tough to know because we don't have a direct point of reference for He-Man. He-Man is a very different property from G.I. Joe and Transformers, but if you're just comparing it to other toys to movies, that's where I'm landing. Next up, Disclosure Day. Once again, I have no idea. It is Steven Spielberg returning to his wheelhouse Alien movie. So, right there, even if you can look and see what his previous movies in that category did, but sometimes you're going to E.T. 45 years ago, or War of the Worlds was 20 years ago. And so we're in a very different place, very different time. It's Spielberg. It's got some star power. I think there is something to that. There is a good bit of chatter and buzz. How big will that be? What will it grow into? I don't know. Once again, this is one of those ones I don't think we're going super high, but we're doing well. So 300 to 500 million is what I'm feeling on that one. Maybe that's my generic answer on some of these ones since it's dominating thus far. But I feel like a number of these ones just like, yeah, it's gonna do several $100 million, but it's not gonna be a massive runaway hit, and it's not gonna be a big bomb. And so just a number of them are kind of falling there for me. Scary Movie 6. It's been like 15 years since the last movie. Tough to know exactly what it'll do, but I think I'm just gonna throw it right into the under 200 million category. If you look at what Naked Gun did last year, even though it got great reviews, great word of mouth, made under $100 million, this will probably do bigger because it's a more directly parodying things, but still under $200 million. Toy Story 5. I'm just going to follow the same logic we've been using with animated movies. And if you just look at what Inside Out 2, Zootopia 2, Moana 2, what are these movies doing? They are going to the $1 billion club. So Toy Story 5, I think, is going to hit the $1 billion club. You can look at Toy Story 4 and then where it was at. These are just the type of movies that right now are just teeing off. Toy Story 5, no reason to think that's going to break the trend. I think it is going to kill it at the box office. So, yeah, no, not much to discuss there. Toy Story is a massive brand, and the other massive brand Disney Pixar franchises, they hit the $1 billion club. Supergirl. Superman did $600 million. I don't expect this movie to do as well as that film. I don't think it'll bomb. I don't think it'll be a massive drop off, but I do think that we're going to be in that $300 to $500 million range. That Superman, of course, is a bigger character than Supergirl. The brand is now a little bit more established, but it's kind of like a lot of the same territory when you're dealing, obviously Superman, Supergirl, same territory, same very James Gunn vibe, despite this not being directed or written by James Gunn. But I just think you're going to have some diminishing returns, solid numbers, but diminishing returns. Minions 3. These Minions and Despicable Me movies are shockingly consistent. Besides the first movie that only made $500 million, all of the rest of the movies in this franchise are basically in a narrow window between $940 million and $1.1 billion. Only like $125 million separate all of them. So that's exactly where this is going to go. The question is it slightly over $1 billion or is it slightly under $1 billion? It's literally right here is the correct answer. This is the right guess. This is where it's going to land right here on that line of $1 billion. I'll go slightly under, but it either would be like $1.01 billion or $975 million. All the track record says that's exactly where this movie's going to land. Moana, the live-action remake. Once again, past performance is our best predictor. Moana 2 from 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, or a year and a month ago. I guess it's actually just over a year ago. Made $1 billion. Lilo and Stitch made $1 billion. I don't think this one will quite hit the billion mark because I think that it's maybe a little bit too soon for a live action remake. But this is going to do better than The Little Mermaid and some of those other lesser ones. It's in that category that'll do really well. So I'm going to say 75 million or 750 million to $1 billion club. I don't think we'll quite get to $1 billion. Just maybe feels a little played out a little bit because we just had a Moana not that long ago. But that movie also showed there's a lot of demand for this. Lilo and Stitch said this era, this window of time, 21st century live action ones, those do great. The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's follow-up to Oppenheimer, the 3-hour movie about Senate hearings and science that made just shy of $1 billion. This movie was selling out IMAX theaters a year before its release. This is almost everyone's most anticipated movie of the year. It's Nolan on top of the world, doing something more exciting than science. We're going to go $1 billion club on this one, all the way up to the top. Maybe it'll only be slightly below $1 billion like Oppenheimer, but whatever it is, it's going to be an amazing number that only Nolan could pull off. Nolan decided to follow up his Best Picture win, adapting The Odyssey. People are going nuts to see what this thing is. So, I mean, it's Nolan. There's just so much excitement for it. Evil Dead Burn. Another one where you could just look at the performance of the last Evil Dead movie. It was under $200 million. This will also be under $200 million. And you notice the pattern here. Some of these iconic horror franchises, Ghostface, Evil Dead, they make the movies for like $40 million, so they're profitable at making $150 million. But these are not actually big, gigantic runaway successes. It's kind of fascinating because like Conjuring, the last made $500 million, 3 times what the last Scream movie made. And so some of these iconic horror franchises that I grew up with, not the box office titans that you might think. That will bring us to Spider-Man Brand New Day. We got another one in the $1 billion club. That's 3 in July that are strong potentials for $1 billion club. I mean, like I said, Minions 3 could hit $1 billion. I'm not surprised if it does, but the last 2 live action Spider-Man movies both hit $1 billion. Now, one was following up Endgame and one was No Way Home. And so they had a little bit of that, there was things that boosted them, but the last 2 movies starring Tom Holland with Spider-Man in the title easily cleared $1 billion. So unless this thing is a total mess, it's hitting $1 billion. Spider-Man, like even Spider-Man movies that, like Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a big disappointment at the box office. It made like $750 million. Like Spider-Man is the safest bet as a standalone comic book character. Everybody knows that. So $1 billion club, pretty safely. I'm pretty shocked. Like the movie has to be pretty bad for it to not hit $1 billion is what I'm guessing on that one. Then we have Clayface. This is a really tough one to guess. This is the DCU movie with the original stories from Mike Flanagan, so it's like a horror flavor to it, much lower budget. I think it's like $40-50 million. So it's not trying to be a big tentpole movie. So I don't know what this thing's going to do. This was so early, we don't have a trailer for it. It is doing a villain movie very early on in his shared universe before he's established with the hero that he's tied to, Batman. What is this movie? Will audiences love it? I don't know. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to put it at the bottom end of $200 to $300 million. Like that's kind of what I'm feeling right now. That movie probably will be kind of cool. And on cool credit, just kind of with a little DC cred, it'll be an inch its way to $200 million, which makes it very profitable for its budget. But it's really tough to guess when you have one like that, the MCU never took risks like that, never did things like that. So you don't have that point of reference. And so so you're looking at like the Sony villain universe, but it's not the same thing. Like this is not the same thing as corporates being like, how can we do Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man? This is Mike Flanagan, who is beloved in the horror space, being like, I've got a cool idea for a Clayface movie. And James Gunn being like, that is a cool idea. So I think there's something there that could be really interesting. Next one, another one really difficult to guess where to put it. We've got a new Resident Evil movie from Zach Krieger, the guy that did Weapons. So I'm expecting it to be a much more artistically fulfilling movie than the last one we got. The last movie only grossed about $40 million. So that puts you easily under $200 million. But if you look at the movies before that, they were in that $200 to $500 range. These two categories, the 200 to 500 category, depending on which movie. So it's actually really difficult to get like, okay, so there have been ones that were a little bit higher up on the list. The last one we did was pretty low on the list. We got a hot director for this one. I'm going to, just on strength of buzz, I think it's going to be quite a bit better. There is brand recognition there. So perhaps that'll be able to make it to the $200 million range. I could be totally off on this one. It is a little bit of a guess as to what that one's going to do. Then we've got Street Fighter, another one very difficult to make a guess because the last Street Fighter movie came out over 15 years ago. I'll just use my guess for Mortal Kombat, and I'll just throw it right next to Mortal Kombat. Those are the two fighting game franchises of the early 90s with my formative years. They've both got a movie coming out. Looks like they have wildly different tones, but both of them are trying to be fairly faithful, kind of vibes-wise. So I'm going to throw them pretty close to each other on that list. But we're very early. And even the fact that they put the trailer out so early kind of says confidence, or kind of says they're going to put marketing into this thing to try and build up excitement. So I think it'll do decent money, but I'd be shocked if we're talking about $500 million for that movie. Hunger Games: Rise of the Reaping. The last movie in the franchise did $349 million. The budget on it was fairly reasonable, and the response was pretty good. I think that this movie will outgross that film, but I don't think it'll fly back past that film. That one was like a bit of a rebuilding, like reintroducing Hunger Games to general audiences and movie format, because it'd been, nearly a decade since the last movie had come out, and people went, yeah, I like that. Let's do more of those. They put the first teaser out a year before the movie came out. That's a good sign. Once again, they're trying to build buzz, showing they're doing a big marketing campaign. So they think that this movie's gonna be able to get some momentum. So I like, once again, I don't think it's gonna fly past the last one, but I think it will do better than the last one. So I'm gonna throw this one into the $300 to $500 million range, calling it about 400 for that film. Final little stretch on here, we've got Hexed. This is the next Disney animation film, and it's an original. It's not a sequel. So you're like, okay, is it going to be Strange World that made like $50 million? Is it going to be Wish that made $250 million? Is it going to be Encanto, which a little bit of a COVID release that kind of it really took off on Disney streaming. We don't have a trailer yet. I don't know very much about it. It's kind of a wild shot at this point in time because it's so early. You're just kind of like, Disney, what have their animated movies done recently? Well, they're kind of all over the place. But it's not a sequel, so we're not talking Billion Club. We're not talking about over $500 million. For now, I'll put it in the $200 to $300 million range. That it's not going to be Strange World level of yikes, that was a disaster. But as of yet, it doesn't have the buzz to think that we're going to go higher up on the list. All right, then we have Dune Messiah, and looks like we have a category specifically designed for this one. The last Dune movie made $715 million. It has good rapport, good respect from audiences. I have not read Dune Messiah, I haven't read the other books, but my understanding is that Messiah isn't quite as probably accessible. It's not as much of a crowd pleaser of a film as Dune Part 2 was. So I think that it might struggle a little bit more with repeat viewing in the audience buzz. Maybe they changed it. Maybe I'm wrong. I have not read the book. I can't comment in that regard. Just general reading the room of responses to it. So I think there will be a little bit of diminishing returns with the third film. Like, it'll probably open bigger and then won't quite have the repeat viewing or word of mouth. So you have a little bit of diminishing returns, but you're still in the $600 million range is what I'm going to guess for that film. Actually, next one on my list is Avengers Doomsday, but let's close out on Avengers Doomsday. So Jumanji 3. The first Jumanji, or the Welcome to the Jungle, the first of this trilogy, did $961 million, so that puts you in the 70-50 club. The next one did $800 million, so a little bit of diminishing returns, but still a great return on investment. I'm going to guess because they took too long to do the sequel, we're going to have another pretty significant dip that'll put us in that 700 million range. I think it'll be on the high end of this, but I'm expecting in this ballpark of diminishing returns. The Rock is not quite on top of the world like he was before, though Jack Black is coming off Minecraft, Mario. He's doing pretty well. So, but you know, the Rock's not quite as good of a place. So this will probably be a movie that kind of helps him get kind of renewed interest. People love that first Jumanji movie. Like our household, we watch that one very regularly. So I think it'll do solid numbers, but I think you will see a pretty big drop off from the first two movies. And finally, Avengers Doomsday. I've got my concerns. I've got the red flags that I see. I see a movie that will easily be in the $1 billion club. Easily. I expect it to be more, it'll do Spider-Man No Way Home numbers is what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting Infinity War numbers, or certainly not Endgame numbers, because the MCU is not where it was. It doesn't have that built-in large-scale momentum of everyone's on board seeing everything. But, so I have a teenage son. I work with teenagers at church. So I talk to a lot of, teenagers. They didn't have much to say about Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. They talked about Superman a little bit. They're already talking about Doomsday. Whether they're skeptical, whether they have concerns, they're all talking about Doomsday. And that's what like, if you want your movie to take, you got to have that level of excitement. And Avengers is getting that buzz, the chatter. Whether, I thought the chair strategy was stupid, it got people talking. I thought the 4 teasers was kind of silly, it got a billion online views. It got people talking about Avengers for a month. So I think this movie's pretty easily going to make like $1.5 billion. I don't think it's going to have the lasting, the substantial storytelling oomph of Infinity War and Endgame to push it to those higher levels. I think it is a little bit more that superficial Deadpool and Wolverine, Spider-Man No Way Home. They're nostalgia movies. I think it'll be a fun event for the fans. That gets you so far. I don't think it fully gets you to the over $2 billion mark. Maybe when they put the full trailer out, it'll make it clear what the story is, and my tune could change. I'd be surprised if they did, but my tune could change. If the movie turns out and it really is just awesome, my tune can change. But with my concerns about the setup, all the storytelling to get to it, it's going to be in the $1 billion club. I don't think it's going to be in the $2 billion club. There you have it. There is me looking what I thought were some of the bigger movies from the franchises, the big directors, the movies people are chatting about. Here's where I think they're going to land. I think there's a lot of movies this year with the potential for $1 billion. Even the 2 movies in the 750 club, those are billion contenders right there. This could be the year with the most $1 billion films since 2019. I'm not surprised if that happens. Let me know you can make your own using that link down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much in 2026.